Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the channel. This is the ultimate Overwatch 2 hero quick start guide. Let's do this. Let's begin with D.Va. D.Va is a dive tank. This means she is adept at closing distance on enemy targets. That's why she's called a dive tank. She dives on top of the enemy. Now, I'm going to show you all of this in this section of the video, so don't worry. But firstly, we're just going to charge our ultimate up while I discuss the way her primary fire functions. So, the ultimate is charged. This is good stuff. Primary fire for D.Va, it's based on range. You won't do a lot of damage if you are far away from the target. However, if you are close to the targets, you will notice you do an incredible amount of damage. It's because she's a dive tank. She does high damage to targets that are literally right in front of her. So what you want to do with D.Va is use her micro missiles, her boost, and her primary fire while closing down a target. We're going to kill this training bot. Watch this. We're going to boost towards him, use all of our abilities, knock him out of the way, and do damage to him. Now, there is a critical thing to remember with boosters. When you hit a target, you do damage to them. Notice we did damage to that bot there. Took a little bit of damage. That all adds up. So you boost into them while primary firing. As such, let's do, I guess, this. In fact, we'll do one of these guys over here. So if we boost towards the target while firing at the target with everything we've got, notice how we're doing tons of damage. We're right on top of the target, getting the target killed. Also, because we are a massive mech, if we're in the enemy target's face, then they can't fire through us to do damage to our team. So in a way, it's kind of like tanking. However, D.Va's tanking ability is this bad boy. It is called Defense Matrix. What it does is casts a field straight out from the mech, which eats all projectiles. Now, you have to be remember this. Really remember it. It only eats projectiles. It will not delete beam weaponry. So think Symmetra turrets, Symmetra primary fire, Zarya primary fire. Those type of abilities, if they're a beam, Winston zap as well. You cannot stop that damage with this defense matrix. But what makes D.Va unique amongst the tanks is she's very good for peeling. So if I'm over here, let's say I'm down here fighting these guys. Oh no, I'm on the front of the fight. You know, I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I'm just somewhere. I'm out of position. I don't know what I'm doing. But one of our healers is getting killed here. We can actually rapidly go to them and cast defense matrix on them and prevent them from taking damage. This is called peeling, and it's a very, very critical concept for tanks in Overwatch 2, especially because you're the only tank as well. Okay. The ultimate ability, well, it's a massive nuclear bomb. You basically yeet your mech into the air. What I like to do with this is use boosters and then throw it because you get more distance. And this will explode, boom, and blows up anything that is within range of it. It does massive damage and pretty much will kill everybody unless they've got a barrier protecting them or a Zarya bubble or something like that. Now, what makes D.Va unique is she's got two modes, really. She's in the mech and she's out of the mech. This is the baby D.Va form. Now, in baby D.Va form, all you get is the bunny blaster. This is a projectile weapon as compared to the mech's primary fire, which is a hit scan. So when you pull the trigger, it hits the area straight away you're aiming at. A micro missile is a projectile. It takes time for them to travel. The bunny blaster is projectile. It takes time for this to travel. Now, all you're looking to do when you're in this mode with D.Va is to do as much damage as possible to get your new ultimate, which is now called Cool Mech, back to get yourself a new mech. However, because we've thrown our ultimate out in the first place, the self-destruct, we get a free mech back after that, so you don't get punished for using your bomb. Now, there's a very interesting component to this. You can kill people with it. So if you call your mech down, let's say I'm hiding here and waiting for this guy to come past, call my mech down on him, you can kill him. Now, if that's a player in the game, on the enemy team, you can kill him. In fact, you can do all kinds of crazy combos with this. You can graviton surge the enemy, run up to them as baby D.Va, and then blow them up. So Zarya would grab, and then you would drop on them with your mech. Very risky. You'd probably die, in which case you'd probably just use your D.Va bomb anyway. But that's beside the point. That's kind of a very brief summary of D.Va. Let's move on to the other tanks, because that's what this video is about. We're just going to go through all the heroes, and we're going to break them down in a very basic way, just so you get an idea of what the heroes do, so you'll be better equipped when you come against them if you've never seen these heroes before. Next up is Doomfist. He is a highly mobile dive tank, and he can do a surprisable amount of damage, although he's probably kind of the weakest tank at the moment in Overwatch. Okay, let's talk about this. So, first ability is this bad boy. It is Seismic Slam. Basically, when you do damage with this, you can jump into any direction as well, so you can just go straight forward, or I could jump up there with Seismic Slam like this, or nearly. I was a little bit out of range there, but you can access high ground all over the place with this guy. He's so maneuverable. However, when you hit targets with Seismic Slam, you get green over health. You can see that. This makes you more tanky, right? So it's extra health you're getting, so you can just take more damage, which is a good thing. Now, you want to try and hit as many targets with this as possible because it's going to give you more shields. Now, his primary fire is a projectile, and it's kind of like a shotgun, his primary fire. And you can see in the middle of the screen, you get 4 charges, so you can fire this off 4 times, and then it has to reload. If you just keep firing, you get a slower rate of fire. But this is quite high burst damage. That means if you get into a target's face with Doomfist and then start hitting them with your primary fire, you do a lot of damage. Now, your secondary fire is your super punch, your fist, whatever you want to call this. Now, this, old Doomfist used to do loads of damage with this. New tank Doomfist doesn't. But he does knock targets back all over the place. Like, look at that. We can push these targets everywhere, and they will get a little bit of a... It's almost like a mini stun if you impact a wall with them. But you can punch more than one target back with this. So maybe I can get him off the map. No, I can't quite do that. So what you're looking to do with Doomfist is basically disrupt the enemy team. So you're going in on a dive like this. You're in their face. Maybe you punch them. You try and cycle your abilities, getting a few melee attacks there, whatever you want to do. It's probably not the best idea to use your punch as soon as you're on an engage like this. Maybe keep your punch for a disengage in case things go bad. But remember, Doomfist is highly mobile. Now, his tanking ability is a little bit... it's not as good as Defense Matrix like you guys have just seen. It's power block. And what this does is it puts his fist out in front of him and he will block damage. You see you get a little bit of a bar. If the bar fully charges, then you get an empowered fist. So the fist basically recharges faster and has got more of a knockback, which is really good. So you basically want to take as much damage as you can with power block. So if you got into the enemy's face, you take a bit of damage. Obviously, these bots don't do a lot of damage, so it's kind of hard for me to show. And then you get powered up fist. You could maybe use that to knock the enemy team or knock the enemy players about, or you could use it to quickly disengage, maybe get some healing, get ready to go in again, and then maybe you want to go over here. Like, Doomfist is just really, really mobile. Now, his ultimate ability is a weird one. So this does a lot of damage if you hit targets with it exactly. However, what this is generally used for is an escape. So if I engage on these bots and I'm like, oh my god, I've overextended. The enemy team are doing too much damage to me. I need to get out of it. Oh, I'm going to die. My healers can't get me. You can press your ultimate and you go into the sky. You're invulnerable. Basically reposition yourself so it's all nice and safe. Maybe we get some heals and then we can just go straight back into the fight and keep being Doomfist. But like I said, at the moment, as of the recording of this video, the launch of Overwatch 2, Doomfist is a little bit weak. It's probably the weakest tank at the moment. Okay, let's talk about Junkrat. She is the latest or the newest tank in Overwatch. Now, if you guys watched Overwatch League, you would have seen she was super powerful. However, Blizzard have since nerfed the hell out of Junkrat, and she isn't that strong anymore. However, we're going to break down her abilities. So, her primary fire is a shotgun, and as with most tanks, this means you need to be quite close to do enough damage to actually make this worthwhile. Like at this kind of range, it does a load of damage. But no, that's not what I was trying to do. These bots have got a big crit shot. But look at this. Look, at this kind of range, you know, we did a lot of damage then, but we're not doing a lot of damage at range. You basically want to be on top of the targets to do as much damage as you can. Again, it's a hit scan, so it immediately hits wherever you fire. Her alternate fire is Gracie. So she throws a dagger, which she can pull back and pull targets out of position. It's really good for catching people who are trying to escape. Like, no, come back here, bot. You're going to die. You'll also notice this bot is taking damage over time from the effect Gracie applies, basically, which is a bleed effect. Now, what this does is it causes damage over time to the bot, but it also gives you health back. So if I run over here with Commanding Shout, which is one of my other abilities, which I'll explain in a second, but if I take damage off these bots, see my green over health has disappeared, and I'm just sort of, oh no, I'm taking damage. But I throw Gracie into this bot, look at my health. It will start to recover because the damage I'm doing to this bot basically means I get the damage I've done to it back in health. See the health returning? Yeah. The other crucial thing to remember with Junkrat is her E ability, if you're playing on PC, is this massive swipe. It does a ton of damage. This is using Carnage, her axe, but it also applies wounds. Now, there is no cap on targets that can have wounds on. So if you think about it, if we go down here and we're trying to do damage to these bots, maybe this one, right? So I throw my dagger over there, pull him back, trying to hit this guy. Maybe I'll get over to this one here, then I'll hit this one with that. You know, my wounds are kind of still up, and I can throw that back over there, pull it through that target. There you go, and I've applied wounds to him, which is also the other thing you can do with Gracie. So you can throw it so you miss targets. It sticks into... Oh, I recalled that then. I apologize. You can basically throw it so it sticks into the floor like this, and then pull it back, and it hits targets, and it'll hit multiple targets, and you'll get more health. This makes Junkrat quite tanky. Now, Junkrat's tank ability is this bad boy. So notice we've just given these bots over health. It's not a lot. It's only 50. But this might be enough to keep them alive if they're taking a bit of burst damage. The crucial thing, though, is it gives you a ton of health. So it makes you survivable. So if you're taking damage, you can pop Carnage. You can pop, it's not called Carnage, is it? Commanding Shout, that's it. You can pop Commanding Shout to give yourself extra health, and you move faster, so you can run through chokes with this. So if your team are together and maybe, you know, just imagine there's a choke in front, you're like, come on guys, let's go. Everyone gets a movement speed buff. Now, there's only Lucio with the other movement speed buff in the game. That is AoE. Of course, Orisa has a movement speed buff, but that's only for her. Now, the other thing is the ultimate. Now, the ultimate is Rampage, and if I use this, it applies wounds to targets it hits, so I get tons of healing, but it also makes them purple. Any purple target in Overwatch on the health bar basically means it cannot be healed, so it's called an anti-heal. They can't be healed. This is very powerful. So if you use Rampage into a group of enemy players, none of them can be healed, and if the rest of your team follow up, that it's essentially an engage ultimate, we would call it, and your team follow up, you can get a lot of kills as a result. So yeah, Junker Queen is really, really fun to play. Next up is Orisa. Now, Orisa, she's not a dive tank. She's like Junker Queen. They're kind of brawl tanks. They want to get in there. They want to do damage to the enemy team. They want to disrupt them simply through being there. Now, Orisa actually does quite a bit of damage at range if you're landing headshots. Body shots, maybe not the best, but headshots do a ton of damage. Now, the thing with Orisa is she doesn't have ammo, but her primary fire will overheat. And as you can see, it is a projectile. It's got travel time. So if I go for a longer distance over there, you can see it takes time for the bullets to actually reach their target. Now, what you generally do with Orisa is you want to get into the fight, into the face of the enemy team, and just do as much damage as you can, be as annoying as you can, and use your defensive abilities. So your first defensive ability is Fortify. Now, this means you take reduced damage because you gain more health. You can see that I had a ton of extra overhealth, but also it just allows us to gain, to reduce incoming damage as well. And we basically can't be crowd controlled when this is up. So when you pop it, you can't be stunned, you can't be pinned by Reinhardt and all of those things. The other thing it does as well is notice when I'm firing the weapon, it's overheating, right? Starting to overheat, I best call it down. But if I pop Fortify and do that, I can actually fire for longer. Look at this. The weapon doesn't overheat as long. So it is a defensive ability, but it's also an offensive ability as well. It's pretty cool. The other ability you've got is a spear. Now, you can just yeet this at people. It does quite a bit of damage, and it will stick them to the wall, only for a second or so, but it will interrupt their abilities. So if you've got a charging Reinhardt or somebody using an ability you don't want them to use, you can throw that at them, and it will interrupt them. Really, really good. Also, you've got this. Now, this is just spear spin, or I think they call it javelin spin, but I think everyone calls it spear spin. Yeah, they call it javelin spin, but we all call it spear spin. But it is basically your movement ability, but also your defensive ability. Now, what this can do is knock enemy players around. So this poor guy, look at this, booped him off the map. Now, if this was a bridge, you know, actually in a live game, maybe on Iconvolt, you could just knock the enemy player off the bridge. It's really, really good for that, and does catch enemy players out of position. But also, it's got a unique component. It's very similar to D.Va's defense matrix. Watch this. So if I'm spinning my javelin, it deletes projectiles. Again, it's only projectiles. It doesn't work on beam weapons, but you can delete projectiles from the game. But obviously, you'd be rushing towards the enemy, doing as much damage as you can. You're getting up in their face. Maybe you pop Fortify so you can keep firing. You know, you're throwing this. So she does do a lot of damage, Orisa. And I think Orisa may possibly be a bit of a meta hero. Now, let's talk about her ultimate. This, again, is really, really funky. And I forgot the name of her ultimate, so I need to check this out. It is Terra Surge. That's it. This pulls targets towards you and then charges up and then does damage based on how much you've charged it up. But also, you've got Fortify applied to you when you do this, so you take less damage. Now watch this. This poor bot here. So I've pulled him towards me. I'm charging up. He was about to escape, so I was forced to use it, but it still did a ton of damage. Now, you can leave it to charge to the maximum, in which case it will do incredible amounts of damage, but generally you don't get away with that because you're just standing still. The rest of the enemy team will probably shoot you and you will probably die. So you have to be really clever with this ult. You can kind of use it to pull people around the corner, as I just showed. Okay, all right, let's move on to the next hero. This is Reinhardt. He is the quintessential Overwatch tank. He is a barrier tank. Now, when you consider Orisa, she's a brawl tank, and you consider Junker Queen also a brawl tank, and you look at D.Va and Doomfist that we've covered so far in the video, they are dive tanks. Now, what this means is Reinhardt is not that maneuverable, so it's difficult for Reinhardt to get up there onto that high ground. He'd have to run around and get up there, right, somehow. It would take him a long time. But what Reinhardt has got that those heroes doesn't is a massive barrier, which means he can absorb 1200 damage, which is obviously pretty strong. He's also got a charge ability, which for rapid repositioning on the ground is pretty good. You can also pin targets to the wall and do a decent amount of damage to them. But generally, charge is used to knock people out of the way or charge them back into your team. So if I wanted to pull this guy back to our team, although of course we pinned him into a wall, so he did loads of damage. You can use charge against enemy Reinhardts. If you see those charging at you, you charge at them. It will knock them down. Also, Reinhardt is basically all about getting in there and swinging his hammer. He wants to be in the fight, but he also wants to protect his team. Now, this is where Reinhardt maybe has a little bit of a struggle in Overwatch 2, because a lot of the other characters are highly mobile and generally don't stick with Reinhardt, so it can be a bit difficult for him to get value, but as the game develops, I'm sure we'll see things starting to come to the fore in terms of meta development. However, he also has this, which is Fire Strike. This lets him throw fire across the map, and this will keep traveling through targets. It will not stop. It will just go through targets. You can see, go straight through that bot and straight over there. This is really good for charging your ultimate, which is Earth Shatter. Now, your ultimate knocks people down onto the ground. So if I grab this bot and hit him with Earth Shatter, right on top of it, it will do high damage and kill him. But you have to be right on top of them. Literally, you have to run up to them and smash them with Earth Shatter. And if you've got Earth Shatter, people generally run away from you, right? You don't want to be next to a Reinhardt anyway, because if he's swinging his hammer, he's going to do tons of damage to you. But let's just get the ultimate back and I'll show you the other component to it. Because it's called Earth Shatter for a reason. It shatters the ground and it knocks targets down, interrupts them, and knocks them down in front of Reinhardt. This means it's actually really powerful as an engage ability, because if Reinhardt runs in, drops Shatter, and then the rest of your team follow through maybe with other ultimates or just straight up doing damage to the enemy team, it can, well, it can be a fight winning or even a game winning in some cases ultimate. So let's just get our ult back again. We've almost got it. Couple more swings on this bot and then I'll be able to show you. So he's down. I'm going to use it here. See how it knocked those two bots down? Well, it knocked that bot down there. He was down for a couple of seconds, and that gives your team enough chance to get in there and try and do a bit of damage. But that's Reinhardt. He's the quintessential tank. If you're an MMO player and you like to be a tank, I would check out Reinhardt. So next up, we've got Roadhog. Now, Roadhog, he's the tank with the least tanky abilities, right? Roadhog is all about doing damage, right? So his first ability, or let's show you his primary fire first. This is a shotgun with a huge spread. And you'll notice this won't do too much damage if I get to a decent range on these bots. Like, look at this, right? You're doing no damage to them. You need to be point blank to be doing damage. Whereas if I'm point blank, look at that. I nearly killed him with one shot. And if I'd shot him in the head, I definitely would have killed him with one shot. Now, Roadhog doesn't move very fast, and the way he makes up for this is his hook. It will pull people out of position, and then Roadhog can hit them with his primary fire. Now, there is a little combo I want to show you guys with the hook. So you hook, primary fire, and melee. Now, obviously, we're killing these bots instantly, but that gives you an extra bit of damage from the melee as you hook them in. Now, also, Roadhog has got a secondary fire. This one is very difficult to get good with because it fires a projectile that explodes into his shotgun. But if you get this just right, you can cause it to explode as it hits targets, and it will do loads of damage, just like that, right? It takes a bit of time to get used to because you need to get used to the range of it. It was a bit off there. Let's just reload. I guess I can get this guy about here. Nearly, but still did a lot of damage to him. Also, what makes this good is if you're against a Reinhardt, let's say, for argument's sake, this barrier, well, this bit of terrain in front of us is Reinhardt. You can spam this into his barrier and it will do tons and tons of damage because it's essentially exploding onto his barrier like a short-range shotgun and does a ton of damage. Now, your E ability is your tank ability. Now, what this does is rapidly heals Roadhog. So if we take a bit of damage off these bots, it's going to take a while because you'll notice Roadhog's got 700 health. He's got the highest health of any character in the game if you don't include health and armor, but I think even then he still has. But he has to have this because he's such a huge target and he's got no other real, well, he doesn't really have a defensive ability that can mitigate damage. He just has to take damage, then try and heal himself. So I've taken damage. Let's try and get down to 400. There we go. And if I take a breather, look at that. I'm straight back up to 700. It does a ton of healing and it heals you rapidly. Now, Roadhog's ultimate is the whole hog, and this is used to disrupt the enemy team. But if you can push people into a corner, you could do massive damage with it. Or if they're caught in a graviton surge, which keeps them in position, it will do massive damage. So check this out. So you pop it, and then as you fire, look at the damage you do. It is massive damage if you're close range. But notice how these bots are all flying away from me. Knock that one off the map. It is very powerful. So on areas of maps where there is environmental kill potential, if you use this ultimate, you will literally yeet them off the map. It is quite powerful. Now, Roadhog has never really been seen as a tank in Overwatch, right? And he's not really a tank in Overwatch 2. Think of this guy as a massive, beefed up DPS. And yeah, you're probably going to get reported if you play Roadhog all the time. I don't know, just go and play Roadhog. He is really fun, but yeah, basically his weakness is if you're caught with all your cooldowns down and you're just sort of like in the middle of nowhere and you don't have take a breather because you've got no mobility, you'll just get annihilated by the enemy team. So always be aware of that. Okay, next up we've got Sigma. Now, Sigma is a barrier tank, but he can do all kinds of different stuff as well. So his barrier is a projected barrier. This means he can fire it to wherever it needs to go. So, for example, I could fire it over there and help those guys with a little bit of protection if it was a better placed barrier, but I can recall it back. That's very strong. His primary fire is a projectile-based ability that you can bounce around walls, but also explodes when it hits targets and does quite a lot of damage if you hit targets with it. It's a little bit difficult considering how it fires one after the other, but this, you will get used to it, and typically with Sigma, you'll be doing an incredible amount of damage throughout a match. You generally will be one of the highest damage heroes in your team most of the time, provided you're doing damage all the time. That goes without saying, right? Anyway, his other ability is Accretion. Now, this fires a massive boulder. Now, this is a massive projectile ability, so it's really huge, and you can throw it across the whole map. If it hits a target, it will interrupt them. So this bot, and it will also knock them back as well. So throw it at that bot. See, it knocked him down onto the ground, it interrupted him, and did a good amount of damage. Now, you have to think with Sigma, if your shield's down and you're firing behind your shield like this, you're doing a lot of damage. Maybe you want to weave in a little accretion. If you see somebody trying to use an ability, if it's like a, I don't know, a Reinhardt trying to charge you, you can hit him with accretion and he won't charge you. Now, the other defensive ability Sigma has got is really, really strong. So this is like, think of it like a personal defense matrix, but it gives you overhealth. Watch this. So these guys are going to fire at me, and because they're firing projectiles, I can eat the projectiles. Notice my health has now gone green, and I've got extra health. I've now got extra overhealth. That will decay. Now, if I take tons of damage, this will charge way faster. Obviously, these bots don't do a lot of damage, but in an actual game, if you rush towards the enemy, and maybe you've got your barrier down, and you're doing a bit of damage here, and your barrier is taking damage, and you're like, uh-oh, I'm going to need to recharge my barrier, because when you recall it, it recharges. You recall, and then you go straight into this. Gives you overhealth, and then after the overhealth declines, you get your barrier back out and it's full HP. It is a huge tip for Sigma, but Sigma is one of my favorite tanks in the game. You can do so much, and actually I'm thinking about maining Sigma in Overwatch 2, but we'll see. His ultimate, now this is Gravitic Flux. Just watch this. So you fly when you use it, and when you cast it, it will grab whatever target is in it into the air and slam them into the ground and basically do 50% of whatever their HP figure was before the ultimate grabbed them. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's great, but they're not dead. They will be dead in the game, because think about it. If you're in a fight and you're doing damage to them and you hit them with Gravitic Flux, the rest of your team will fire at them because they're very easy to hit because they're literally just in the air. And when they get slammed down into the ground, they'll probably die. It is a very powerful ultimate, but it can be countered. Lucio can use Sound Barrier to counter it. Baptiste can drop down his immortality field to counter it. So, or Zarya could bubble to counter it. There are a lot of ways of countering it, but it's still a really good ability. And because you fly, you can use it as Sigma to access high ground. So you could fly up to there if you wanted to. But yeah, Sigma, really good projected barrier, insane ability. You can throw this into the face of enemy players that are doing damage, like literally drop it there. They're not doing anything. They're hitting your barrier. Really do like Sigma. I think he's going to be, I don't want to say a super meta hero, but I think he's going to be quite effective in Overwatch 2. Alrighty then, this is Winston. Winston is a dive tank, although I bounced off the ceiling there. But Winston is a dive tank, and he can do this. He can dive all over the place. Ultra mobile. And again, because he's a dive tank, you want to get into the enemy's face, land on them, which does damage, and then zap them with your zapper. Now, you don't need to aim with this. This just does damage to anyone in a frontal conal AoE to wherever you are. It does do a lot of damage, but you're Winston. I mean, you've got 550 combined armor and health. So you just get into the enemy's face and zap them. So, I don't know, if I wanted to go over here, I'd be like, boom, zap, 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 zap. A little tip as well is if you spam jump when you land with Winston's leap, you will go a little bit further. So I'm spamming jump. Notice how you sort of jump forward a little bit. Now, his alternate fire is a charge ability. This is new to Overwatch 2, and it's a long-range ability, because Winston has never had a long-range ability. Now, this just gives Winston a little bit of long-range poke potential. You can sort of do this if the enemy are trying to run away from you. Let's say you jumped on this guy, tried to do damage, but oh no, he's got away. well, it's out of range of your primary fire, but you can get him with your secondary. Now, Winston, his defensive ability is his bubble. This is a big bubble shield, 700 HP, but once you drop it, that's it. That's where it stays. So what you tend to see with Winston is you wouldn't drop it here to protect your team. You'd actually jump onto the enemy team. So if I jump onto these guys like this and you drop your bubble, and it prevents them doing damage, and it also prevents them damaging you. And what you can do with Winston is basically juggle in and out of your barrier, and it acts as a massive shield for yourself. So Winston is incredible. I think at the moment, Winston is the best tank in Overwatch 2. Bar none. He's so mobile. Because, I mean, you could jump onto these guys, drop your barrier down, you're doing damage. Look how fast your leap recharges, right? Do a bit more damage, whatever. Oh, I need to get out of here. Okay, I'll get over here. I'm out of the fight. I'll let my healers grab me. My healers grab me. Okay, another few seconds have gone by. I'm going to hit that guy down there. So I'm going to jump over here, bounce over there. He's really, really good. Now, his ultimate ability is Primal Rage. This gives you an absolute ton of HP. You turn into a massive, angry Winston. You can keep constantly using Leap, but you no longer have the same primary fire. Instead, you bat people around with your arms, which is good because you can knock players out of position. Or you can even catch them in the corner, and it's called juggling, where you sort of bash them in the corner up against, well, basically against the corner and kill them. So, Primal Rage popped. Look at this. It lasts for 10 seconds. Look at the damage it does and the knockback it applies. But also, you can just keep jumping with it. Look how fast... You can see how fast the cooldown is, and you'll notice as well. Actually, you won't notice. In fact, you know what? I'll quickly get his ult again, because there is also another component to his ultimate you should probably be aware of. Is that if you leap and then you pop the ulti, you basically can double leap, so you can cover tons of distance. It's really, really good. So, again, this video, guys, is about simple breakdowns of the heroes. It's about just a brief introduction in case you've never seen these heroes before and you've got no idea how they play. That's what I'm going for here. It's not meant to be super concise. It's not meant to be a full breakdown of the heroes. It's just a look at the heroes and the way they function to give you a good idea of what heroes might fit your playstyle. So if you're super aggressive and you want to jump into people's faces, Winston is a great pick. But Winston's just a great pick anyway because he's very strong. Just because he can get in, he can get out, he can get in, he can get out. You have to learn how to play on the periphery of the game with dive tanks. They're not like the barrier tanks or the brawler tanks where you can kind of just walk in. Anyway, this is what I want to show you. So I can get over to that over there by going for a jump and then popping the ultimate and going for a jump again. So if I jump, pop the ultimate, and then jump again, you see how far I've traveled? Absolutely insane. So Winston, really good hero. Oh, yeah. Okay, your eyes are not deceiving you. This is Hammond, or as his official name is Wrecking Ball, but Hammond is the name of the hamster in the Wrecking Ball mech. Now, this is the most ridiculous, crazy out there hero in the game. So you are a dive tank. You don't really have any defensive abilities that you can apply to your team. They just all apply to you, but you basically run into the enemy's face. So if you look at his abilities, he can actually transform into a ball, which makes him move faster, which is pretty ridiculous. He can pile drive into the ground, and he's got adaptive shield that only gives him extra health. So let me show you how this all works. So your primary fire is a hit scan machine gun. It doesn't do a lot of damage at range, but at close range, again, as with these tanks, it does a lot of damage. At long range, it's really not worth using, but you want to get close to your targets and then hit them with a primary fire. It does a considerable amount of damage. Now, your alternate fire on Wrecking Ball is where things get a bit crazy. It's a grappling hook. This is the worst demonstration ever, but it is a grappling hook. This means, yeah, it's disconnected. Let me show you a better demonstration over here, because that was actually terrible. This is the grappling hook. It means you can move super fast when it's equipped. You can disconnect it. You can even use your other ability, which is pile drive, to slam down onto targets. So the gameplay loop for Wrecking Ball basically goes like this. And I will show you the shield ability in a second. If I want to get down there and slam those guys, you're basically going in like this. You're looking for them. They've all run away, typical. But I'd slam on top of them. The slam knocks them up into the air. You can pop your adaptive shields, which, look how much extra health I've got. I've got over 1,000 now, because this is based on how many enemies are near you. So this is like incredible amounts of mitigation you can do. So this means that Wrecking Ball can really dive into the back line of the enemy, and it's almost like he doesn't care. So he comes in like this, slam down, so knock these guys up, you jump out, you're doing damage to them, you pop your shield, you've got massive, like absolutely massive amounts of survivability. Things start going wrong, well, whatever, you just get out of there with your grappling hook. That's how he works. He is really strong, right? Really strong, but he's very difficult to use because it's all based around the grappling hook. And if you get the grappling hook wrong, well, then you look kind of silly. Now, his ultimate ability is a minefield. So you just generate a massive minefield around the mech. Now, this is usually used in conjunction Well, basically, this is the combo. So you would, if I was flying into this area, maybe I'll grapple up there, pop the ultimate in the air, pile drive into the ground, so it knocks the targets off and makes them basically go into the minefield. Now, the minefield's used for massive area denial. I mean, look at the spread of the mines. And they do a lot of damage, but you can lock down an area with them. But normally, you go for that combo, which I just shown. Now, this is, honestly, it's one of my favorite heroes from a gameplay perspective. I'm not the greatest with this hero. I think it really does take a specific player to get super good, because you need to always be aware of where you are. You need to be aware of your cooldowns, what you can do. There's loads of crazy tech with this hero. But again, I'm not going to show that in this video, because this is just about a basic introduction to these characters. But yeah, Wrecking Ball. He's really good. Okie dokie, next up we're going to take a look at Zarya. Now, she's one of my favorite tanks. Actually, she's the hero that I first got the golden weapon for back in Overwatch 1. So she's got a very special mechanic, and I'm going to kind of show it you here, but it's going to be difficult to show you because these bots don't do enough damage. But basically, she can cause a barrier to appear on herself and she will generate charge, but she can also apply a barrier to her allies. And look at my charge, 24 damage. It means that when I then do damage with Zarya, with her primary or even a secondary fire, it does more damage. So you charge up your weapon through protecting your team. See that there? And this bubble protects all damage. It literally all damage. But I think it's when 200 damage is done to it, it will then disappear. So if you are targeted, if it's on you and you get targeted, it will disappear if high damage comes in, but it will protect you from all of that damage. Even if it was 10,000 damage in one go, the bubble would disappear and you'd still be alive. However, this charges up Zarya's weapon. So you're basically, what you're trying to do with Zarya is bubble your allies when they need bubbling and bubbling yourself when your allies don't need bubbling, and you're trying to juggle your charge. The key is to try and keep your charge as high as possible. Now, against the bots, it's difficult to show this, but that number in the middle of the screen, you generally want that to get up to 100 or definitely over 80, and then you can start beaming people down, because when you've got high charge, and when you're chasing targets like over here and trying to do damage to them, see, with no charge, it's not a lot of damage, but high charge, that bot would basically be deleted from the game. So what you're trying to do is juggle your projected and your personal barrier, and you've got two charges. So I could barrier myself, and then this either runs out because of its duration, or I take over 200 damage and it is removed. But then I can also bubble myself again. You see, and I could bubble myself again, right? You can see the countdown in the bottom corner. You can basically save 2 in reserve and then decide to use them whenever. But you'll notice now, because I've used both of my bubbles, that I don't have any defensive ability now. So I am kind of exposed to what's going on. See, now I've got one. So if I use this on myself, I'm still waiting for the next one to charge. It'll be ready in 2 seconds. This bot's taking too much damage. I need to save him. I can bubble him. Zarya is all about timing. Now, Zarya's ultimate is extremely powerful. Watch this. It sucks targets into it. Doesn't do a lot of damage, but it sucks targets into the graviton. It's literally a black hole. This means you can straight up pile damage into this, and you'll see Zarya being used as a combo ultimate. So when graviton is ready to go, it will be generally used when there's another ultimate that will complement it, whether that's a Dragon Blade, whether it's a Diva Bomb, whether it's ultimates that do high damage, essentially. It takes a long time to charge Graviton Surge as well, so you don't really want to waste it. And also, Graviton Surge is a projectile when you fire it, so if you fire it near a Diva, she could eat it in Defense Matrix, or Sigma could eat it with his suck, and so you do generally have to kind of be careful with it. And also Genji could deflect it as well. But yeah, Zarya is a brawler. She gets in there, she takes part in the fight. You know, if these guys were damaging me, I'd be bubbling myself. You know, I'd be trying to, oh no, one of my allies needs healing. Well, protecting, or does need healing, but I can bubble him, although the bubble doesn't heal. You see where I'm going with this, guys? This is her gameplay throw. She's really cool to play, but she's not, she's kind of, yeah, she's difficult to play, but when you get the hang of her, she can be incredibly powerful. And she's honestly got one of the most unique kits in Overwatch, I think. So yeah, Zarya, definitely one of my favorites. You can also do this as well. You can jump. Oh, I haven't even showed the alternate fire. What an absolute loser. It's getting quite late at night here and I'm forgetting what to do. But yeah, you've got an alternate fire, which is a grenade. This is a projectile instead of a beam. And also, on the topic of the beam you can fire through a Diva Defense Matrix, for example. However, the alternate fire will hit targets and it will boot them. You notice it boots the bot around. Look, and it explodes. It can boot bots around. This also scales on damage that you've absorbed with your barriers as well. And this is your long-range ability, because this, it's really difficult to see the range of this ability. Is it touching that wall over there? It's not. It's really short range, this ability. So you can kind of see there, it hits the floor there, and then I can't hit the floor anymore. So I actually don't remember what the range is of this. I think it's about 15 meters, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 15 meters. But it's difficult to tell. Anyway, your long range option, in case you want to bombard the enemy that are long, miles away, you can do this. Now remember, this isn't incredible amounts of damage, but it all adds up, especially if Zarya is supercharged. And of course, you can do this. You can jump with your alternate fire, but it also damages you as well. So you got to be careful of that. That's Zarya. I love it. This is Ashe. She is a hit scan hero with pretty good medium range, not ultra long range damage. See this bot over there? You still do decent damage to him, but if this was Widowmaker, you'd kill that bot with one shot. But because this is Ashe, she's kind of like medium to close range damage. But her alternate fire, anyway, brings up the scope. And then you can go for some pretty easy damage shots. Now, what you've got to remember with Ashe is she's a hit scan hero, so the damage is immediately applied to whatever you're firing to. However, when you've got your scope up, you move quite slow. So if a dive tank jumps on you like a Winston, it's like, oh god. But she does have an option to deal with this. It's her coach gun. This is her movement ability, and it's actually really cool. It does damage as well, and you can use it to knock enemies away from you. So if I go down here and show you on this bot, I should be able to knock him off the map. Maybe not now because he's gone down there, but let's wait for him to come back, and then I'll hit him. So as he goes up here, I'll be able to hit him with a coach gun, and he should fly off the side. There you go. So you can knock people off the map with a coach gun, but generally it's used to get yourself out of a bad position. Now, your primary fire is it's basically firing from the hip. But with this, it's just less damage than ADS. So when you bring up the sights, that's a headshot. See, that's a ton of damage. And then this will be a headshot as just from the hip. See, it's not as much damage. See, it's nowhere near the same level of damage. But the thing with this is you can fire it faster. So if you do need that sort of, I don't know, rapid fire because people are on top of you, you don't have time to aim at them like this and go for the headshot, then what you can do is just rapidly fire at them and try and take them down. It's generally used in case targets are getting away from you with low health. You can spam at them and kill them unless you've got the aim. Or if a target jumps on top of you, again, like the Winston example, you can just sort of fire at him. So if Winston jumped on me, I'd jump away like that and I'd be firing at him. Now, her other ability is Dynamite. Now this is basically dynamite. You can throw it on the floor and it'll blow up. And when it blows up, any target it hits will be affected with a damage over time that will cause damage to them. They're basically set on fire. But there is a very interesting dynamic with this. You can detonate it yourself. So if we wait for this bot to come back around here, I'm going to throw this in the air like that, and then I'm going to shoot it. I actually missed the bot, but you see how I shot the dynamite and it exploded. Now, there is a trick with the dynamite. If you keep your aim level and throw the dynamite and then fire, you will always hit it. So you can make it blow up really fast in front of you. But normally this isn't used for that. Normally this is used for, and also you can get access high ground with coach gun by firing into the ground. But normally what you would do with this is if you're firing at the enemy and they're sort of, blah, 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 you chuck that over there. The platform would come through at that time, wouldn't it? Anyway, as I was saying, normally you'd throw this down and then use it to get people who go out of sight. So that bot's out of sight there. I want to damage him, so that bot's out of sight there, but we'll get this one when he comes back. So provided the platform goes away, which it has. So we can throw this down. Where did that go? There we go. So I missed that, but it landed on the floor, but it still got him. This is the worst demonstration ever. But basically, you can throw this and detonate. So hang on, let's get this guy. There you go. It's really good. Like, in the game, you'll use this to get people. Like, you're shooting at people, they go into cover, and you're like, oh, they're in cover. But then you just throw the dynamite there and detonate it, and it gets them. Now, let's talk about the ultimate. So this is a massive robot, which will knock targets out of the way when you use him, and he will then just shoot everyone. So if we use him here, see, he's knocked that target in the air, and he will just then start shooting. It's basically a gun turret. Now, he can be put to sleep by Ana. He can be killed if the enemy team's shooting, but he's got a lot of health. He's actually a really good ultimate bot. So yeah, I do like Ashe. Ashe is pretty good, but the thing with Overwatch, as you'll see as we go through these heroes, is some heroes are just simply better than others in certain categories. Anyway, let's move on. So this is Bastion. He is also a hit scan hero with his primary fire being this nice little number. Now, this doesn't have any weapon spread or anything like that, basically. You can just walk around as you're firing this, and it's always pinpoint accurate. Now, Bastion is a very large target, so it's pretty easy to hit for other enemy DPS. So you have to be aware of that. If you're walking around doing this, you're probably going to get killed. Now, Bastion's other ability is this. This is his signature ability, basically. So he can turn into a gun turret, and he can move around. He's like a little mini tank, and he does massive amounts of damage. and you just keep firing for the entire duration. Obviously, it's got a 10-second cooldown, so you can't keep using this. You kind of need to... It sort of goes into two phases, right? So you're in this sort of long-range poke kind of phase, and then if you want to get aggressive on the enemy team, suddenly you turn into the tank. You hope that your tanks keep you alive and you support, and then you just pump out loads of damage into the enemy team. It can be quite devastating. The other ability he's got is his grenade. Now, this sticks to enemy targets and boops them when it blows up. You can also bounce this off walls. I don't believe it bounces off the floor. Fireball, yeah, it bounces off walls, but off the floor, it sticks to the floor. But off a wall, you can like go boop and bounce it off the wall, and it sticks to the floor. You notice it bounced off that and bounced off that and blew up there. You can also use this for movement. So when this blows up, you can... I think I can get up there with it. So if I stick it there... Okay, that was completely terribly mistimed. I might not be able to get up there, but you can use it for movement as Bastion. So you can get to positions where generally you wouldn't expect Bastion to be. Actually, I don't think I can get up there. You know, let's go for something a bit easier. Let's go for over there. So... Oh, maybe I can get up there, actually. But you can see it knocks you forward. It does do damage to you, but it's only minimal damage, and your healers will pick up the slack there and heal you. Now, your ultimate ability is a massive long-range artillery strike. So if I move over here and I pop the ultimate ability, you'll see the way this works. So it's similar to Doomfist, right? But you can fire 3 projectiles. See, I've kind of missed everything with them. But you fire 3 projectiles that will land fairly quickly. And normally what you do with these is put them over support heroes. So if you're playing in a normal match and maybe you've got your ultimate ready to go, what you would do is use it in a safe location because you're vulnerable when you use it. And then just drop it on the enemy Ana or the enemy Zen or any kind of slow-moving target, or set up a pattern to stop the enemy from escaping. So let's see if we can do it here. So let's just quickly regenerate our ultimate again. And obviously all ultimates are generated through doing damage or through healing and whatnot. But basically, you know, it's damage is the primary source for the damage heroes because you can't heal. Although some can heal themselves. But actually, can any damage? Yeah, Soldier can. Anyway, we'll get to that in a second. So I've got my ultimate ready now. I'm going to pop it. And I'm like, I don't want these guys to maybe get out. I've just missed again. But you see what I'm saying? You can use it to lay down fire over an area and get kills. All right, let's move on to the next hero. Oh, in terms of Bastion's power level, is kind of low. Like, Bastion is probably one of the weakest DPS in the game. But you never know. All right, then. This is Cassidy. Now, talking of weak DPS, oh, Cassidy. Cassidy's very weak at the moment. Just because he finds it really hard to get out of bad situations, and he is slow moving, and it's like, oh, Cassidy. Okay, so his weapon does a lot of damage if you land the shots, right? Now, I played a lot of Cassidy back in the day, and he's one of my favorite DPS heroes. So, but back in the day, he had a stun. He does not have a stun anymore. He has this. It's a sticky grenade, which does decent damage, but it's nowhere near as good as his stun used to be. But Overwatch 2 is a game that doesn't have many stuns in it anymore, which is good. So Fan the Hammer is his secondary fire. This fans the hammer, and you fire all of your shells out of the Peacekeeper very quickly. Now, this is really good for doing damage, high damage to really big targets, i.e. tanks, if you're close to them. So if this was a Winston, you'd give him a bit of that. This was a Winston, you'd give him a bit of that. You wouldn't shoot him like this because it's slower. You just would spam damage into him. Now, there is a interesting thing with this hero. So if I fan the hammer and then I roll, I instantly can fan the hammer again. So rolling with Cassidy reloads your primary weapon. So so if I'm firing normally like this, bang, 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 roll, bang, 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 bang. So this means you can do quite a bit of damage with this hero, but you've got no mobility. This is the problem. So and he has no self-heal. He has nothing like that. So when he gets caught out of position, this hero generally dies. So I don't know. Maybe Blizzard will do stuff to him in the future, but he is cool to play. Now, his ultimate, I mean, I just like playing him anyway, but his ultimate is this, Deadeye. So it locks onto enemies, and when you get the skull and you fire, it will kill them. It doesn't matter how much health they've got, they will die. If they've got a barrier in your face, then yeah, you won't be able to shoot them through that. But any hero it locks on and you get the skull icon, it will kill them. Now, you're very vulnerable when you do this, although I believe you actually take less damage now in Overwatch 2 when you pop it. I don't think it says there. But and it locks on faster, so it's not a complete waste of time. So just to sort of show you how this would work, you know, in a live fire exercise, if I'm killing these guys and I'm like, boom, boom. What if I could shoot? Charging my ultimate up. Going for headshots. See, because if you can land the headshots, sometimes it is better just going for primary fire instead of fan the hammer. Right, so I've got my ultimate here, so I'm like, I'm going to pop it. I move really slow. Okay, I've got 3 kills there, 2 kills. Okay, bang, bang. That's kind of how he plays, right? He's fine. He is quite one-dimensional. He's an easy hero to pick up. But I think at the moment, he's probably one of the weaker hit scan heroes in Overwatch 2. Next up is Echo. Now, Echo is probably the most complex hero in the game. So Echo's primary fire is a projectile-based sort of tri-shot. I was going to say triangle shot, but it's a tri-shot. This does a lot of damage, and it does have... I don't think this has damage fall-off either. But basically, as you're flying around with Echo, if you hold down jump, you will hover. You can see it's actually quite difficult to land the shots with this, especially when targets are moving, even on these bots that have got set paths. But yeah, if you fly, you can fly in any direction, and then you hold down jump, you will slowly descend. If you let go of jump, it's a fast descent, you know, and such like that. But yeah, primary fire is projectile. Does a lot of damage if you land the hits. Secondary fire is a sticky bomb. So you fire out a bunch of sticky bombs, which will explode. Your E ability, or whatever this will be on the console, is the special ability. So this is a beam, and this essentially does more damage the lower HP a target has got. So if I shoot this target here, it will get... I mean, it's below 50% HP, so watch this. Look, it's being deleted. That one didn't take much damage. The way this functions is, I think it says in the description, but deals very high damage to targets under half health. So you want to get the targets under 50% health and then hit them with the beam. So it's like a finishing ability, whereas this guy, look, hardly any damage. But she's so mobile. You're flying around with this hero and you're hitting people with damage like this. You're looking for... You're getting close to targets, just smacking them with the bombs. You're hitting them with the primary fire. You're beaming targets down because the beams are hit scan. She's like a really complex hero to play. And this is where it gets even more complicated, because if I go over here, well, her ultimate is you duplicate whoever you're looking at. So this is an enemy Tracer, but this could be any enemy hero. I pop the ultimate, I turn into her. So I am now Tracer. And look how fast my ultimate charges. So you have rapid ultimate generation, and you become the enemy hero. So this is... I know this looks crazy, and you guys look at it, but this is like in a test environment. But yeah, she's really, really complicated. Now, as for her classification, she's a dive hero because of her movement. Like, she can get on top of targets and hit them. The problem with Echo, though, is hit scan is pretty strong in Overwatch. So Echo tends to get killed. So, yeah, but she is really, really, really complicated. And yeah, if you get good with Echo, sick, man. You are an insane player. Okay, then, this is Genji, everybody's favorite Overwatch weeb. So, he's a ninja, the cyborg ninja. He can wall climb. He can dash. He can throw shurikens in his primary fire like this. You know, well, what would you even call this? Horizontal throw, I guess. His alternate fire is more of a spread, although this is really good at close range. So, obviously, at long range, you'd be spamming the primary fire, trying to get a bit of damage. It's not massive damage, but you're basically trying to build your Dragon Blade ultimate up, because it's got one of the, literally one of the best DPS ultimates in the game. So, yeah, spamming at range with this, that's cool. But if you're close to a target, then you want to use alternate fire, because you've got more chance of hitting them. Generally, what you do as well is when you're close to a target, you don't just run up to them like this because you'll die. You're looking to jump around, double jump, because you can double jump your Genji, grab onto the wall, do damage like this, blah, 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 blah. You've also got the dash. Now, the dash is funky because the dash resets on elimination. So, notice I've got 3 seconds left on the dash. Now it's available. This means if you kill a target like this, you can dash, and then you can dash again. So, I'll kill this target, and I can dash through these guys, trying to do damage to this guy. He's dead. I hit this guy, I can dash through him. And I can go like this. I can dash through him. I can go like this. And you see how this hero is very attractive to anyone who is hyperactive, basically. Okay, his other ability is a deflect. So if I go over here, I'll show you this. So you deflect back projectiles. Now, this is every projectile in the game, pretty much. So if something is thrown at you, if it's not a laser beam, basically, you can deflect it back at the enemy. So if you're jumping around, maybe you're taking damage, you can be like, whoa, no, and deflect the shots back. And some of them will go back and hit. But of course, you could deflect a Zarya Graviton Surge back at the enemy team, and it'll grab them. So Genji is really good. And Genji is literally... He is literally the best DPS in the game at the moment. He's top 2, top 3 probably. Well, he's top 2. I think he's the best. I don't know. Because dive is so prevalent in 5v5, Genji is really, really, really good. Definitely top 3. Okay, his ultimate. You've probably all been waiting for this, but I'm just going to show it you. So... It's Dragon Blade. You literally jump around with your blade that does massive amounts of damage per swing. It's just crazy. You can slice the whole enemy team up. Every kill resets your dash. You just keep going. You don't care. You're super mobile, and that's pretty much Genji. But he is very hard to get used to. I've always found Genji hard to play because I'm not really a projectile player. I'm more of a hit scan player. So when I'm getting on top of enemies, it's difficult for me to like orientate myself. But if you're good at that, Genji's really good. And like I said, he's literally one of the best DPS in the game at the moment. Next up, we're going to take a look at Hanzo. Now, Hanzo is Genji's brother, but Hanzo is a projectile DPS. He is not a dive DPS like Genji. Well, Genji's also projectile as well, but Genji's a dive DPS or a flanker. He's highly mobile. Hanzo is not. Hanzo is a projectile that he's got good mobility, but he is not. He's just completely the polar opposite to the way Genji plays. So what you're generally looking to do with Hanzo is get into good high ground positions because you can wall climb. So like anybody related to the Shamadas can wall climb. This is Kiriko because her mother trained the Shamadas. Kiriko can also wall climb. Genji can wall climb, and obviously Hanzo can wall climb. So you can use this to get into good positions. You can double jump as well. So again, you can get into high ground positions, which is easier. So if I double jump up here, then wall climb, I can get up to the high ground, and then boom, boom, boom. Now you can see it's pretty difficult to land the arrows, but again, this is one of those things, if you get used to it, you do a ton of damage. And again, this is because I'm generally a hit scan player, not a projectile player, so it is a little bit difficult. But Hanzo is a little bit about spam. Like, you don't need to land every shot, because if you land a headshot, it will pretty much kill almost any of the DPS. Like if I get the Tracer over there, missed her, but forget her, kills her in the head. It does a lot of damage. Now his other ability is, oh well, it's storm arrows. So this fires arrows really fast. Now they're not the same damage as a standard arrow. They do less damage, but you fire them quicker. However, they can bounce off the walls. So if I can maybe set something up here, let's try. I'm going to totally miss it. I'm going to bounce off here into this guy. So I've activated it. He just didn't bother coming. But anyway, bounce off the walls. You can see it bounce off the walls. Why didn't he go? They always come up here and go back. Anyway, yeah, you can bounce it off the wall. So basically, as you're firing away at the enemy team, every now and again it comes up and you can spam some shots in, and you can give a bit of this, a bit of that, blah, 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 blah. Now, your left shift ability, or whatever it would be on the consoles, is a sonic arrow. Now, this detects hidden enemies. So you can see how we can see these enemies now. So if he goes into there, if they go into range of sonic arrow before it dissipates, but basically it shows where enemies are through the wall. This is really good on certain maps with choke points because you can fire it and be like, look, this bot's going into there, so let's fire it on there. Look, we can see him in the wall. So we can line up our shots. Really, really strong. Now, his ultimate is this. You've probably seen this. This is a Dragon Strike. It is a massive projectile that moves pretty slow but does massive amounts of damage, moves through the wall and goes all the way across the map. Now, generally, you use this to fire into choke points or areas of the map where the enemy team might be trapped and they can't get out. Or if your team have got a Zarya and she uses a Graviton Surge, then you would follow up the Graviton Surge with a Dragon Strike and it would hit everyone in there. And you could, in some cases, kill the entire enemy team if it's a fat grab and catches everyone. You see, I hit that bot in there. But yeah, that's Hanzo. I think Hanzo's all right. He's one of those heroes you need to be really good at with the projectile tracking, really, the projectile aim. If you're not, then it becomes difficult and can be a little bit frustrating, because if you keep missing shots, then it doesn't really feel great. Okay, this is Junkrat. Now, Junkrat is one of my favorite characters. I think he's my favorite character, Junkrat. But he's a projectile character that literally throws grenades all over the place. So you fire the grenades out of your weapon. They can bounce off walls. You can bounce them all over the place. They do good damage if they land directs. So yeah, he's good for like spam damage. He's not a dive DPS. It's not anything like that. You generally stay with your team with this guy. You can do mad flanks, and you will see mad videos out there of people doing crazy stuff with Junkrat. But it is difficult to get reliable damage with Junkrat unless you're firing into a group of the enemy, or you're going for, like, I don't know, you're just spamming through a choke point. It can be really good for that. But good players can make him work. Now, he has a mine ability. So this will detonate when I decide to trigger it. So you throw the mine down and then you can blow it up. It does decent damage. It also sticks to surfaces as well. So you can catch people. Okay, that bot's trolling me, but you can catch people as they move past surfaces like that. You'll notice the other component to it is it moves you about, but you can also use this. I think he's going to stay up there now, but you can use this as Junkrat yourself to get into good positions, to access high ground. And you've also got 2 of these in reserve as well. Takes a little bit of time to get used to the way it works, but it's pretty easy. You'll notice it doesn't do damage to you as well. Just kill that bot, put him out of his misery. You also have got this bad boy. It's a trap. Now, this will lock the target in place, and they won't be able to move, only for a few seconds, but that's normally good enough to catch people. Now, The other thing to note with this is it does not look like this to the enemy team. It is sunk into the ground. We can see it. Oh, that bot had no health. That's why it killed him. Just a little bit of damage. We could see it, but the enemy, it's very hard to detect it. So you will fall into these. Even seasoned Overwatch players walk into these. It's like, oh my God, there's a trap. I've never seen it. And yeah, I don't think it'll get this bot here. It might be out of range, or it might do. Yeah, so it gets him. And obviously you can spam damage into him while he's there. So it's really, really powerful for that. Now, his ultimate ability is called Riptire. And this does massive damage, and it can climb up the wall as well. So this thing, you can jump around with it. You can climb up the wall, do whatever you like. And when you detonate, blows up a big area of effect and does a ton of damage. Again, it's a pretty decent ultimate, but that's pretty much Junkrat. Like, in terms of him being a meta hero, he's kind of like Bastion, really. Like, you know, you can use him sometimes, but he's generally towards the bottom of any tier lists you would see. All right, then, let's move on to Mei. Now, Mei is really funky because she can do this. So Mei can spawn a wall. Now, the wall can be destroyed by the enemy, and it also blocks the enemy movement. So this is really good in choke points. You can section the enemy team off and do all kinds of stuff with it. It's really, really good. Like, imagine if we were caught in a Graviton Surge. You could put this in front of you, and if the enemy team were trying to fire at you, this acts like a barrier. It can be destroyed, and it doesn't last forever. But yeah, it's a good mitigation tool. You can also use it for movement. So if you spawn it at your feet, you will stand on the wall. So this means you can use it to get into positions like... Well, I think I lagged there, actually. But I can use it into positions to jump on top of there. Remember, this is all from the Overwatch 2 test server, so things can get a bit dodgy sometimes. But I guess if I just stand next to it, go like this, and then I can just walk off the edge. Oh, or fall off. But yeah, you can access high ground with it, or certain high ground with it, get into good positions. Now, her primary fire is this freeze beam, although it doesn't freeze you anymore. It used to in Overwatch 1. Now, all it does is slow you down. But it does decent damage, though. I mean, Mei's running up to you. You've got to remember, Mei's got 250 health as well. So she isn't like a super squishy, and she can also do this if things get bad. She can turn into an ice block. This will heal her, remove all negative effects, and she takes no damage when she's in it. Obviously, the enemy know where you are, so they can prepare for you to pop out. Now, alternate fire, you fire a long-range icicle with no damage fall-off that is a projectile. This is surprisingly good. It's like a Hanzo arrow, but it fires a bit quicker, I think. Only fractionally. It's a bit harder to hit. I don't think their hitbox is as big, but don't quote me on that. But it's the same type of principle, basically. You spam this, spam, 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 spam. Enemies get close to you. You try and slow them down, and then your team take them out. You can also try and slow them down, and then if they can't get away, as they're slower, they're easier to hit, right? With the alternate fire, which does more damage. Now, your ultimate ability is this bad boy. You throw Snowball down, and Snowball slows, but also freezes everyone in the area. This is really, really good. It's a super strong crowd control ultimate. You can throw this into an enemy team, and it will freeze them, lock them up, and then you can just kill them as they're standing still. So that's pretty much Mei. She's pretty basic, Mei is really, but she takes a lot of time to get good with. And she's sort of one of those heroes that can be strong on certain maps, especially maps with choke points. Like if you needed to section this part of the map off here, and of course, by pressing the same button to activate the ability, you can change the orientation of the wall. But like you could block this off here and then do damage here, right? Or you could block this off and your team could run around here and get here, right? So there's a lot of like cute tactics and strategies you can do with Mei. She's a pretty fun hero. This is Pharah. She is the quintessential rocket queen. She's basically a jump jet with a rocket launcher. So she can fly, she can hover. You see my fuel in the middle of the screen? This is me pressing jump to keep myself in the air. It will deplete. You can't stay in the air indefinitely. Although you can nearly stay in the air indefinitely because her shift ability launches her into the air. And notice how I'm feathering my ability like this, or my fuel rather, to stay in the air. Look at the time. I'm still in the air. I'm still feathering it. Now I'm going to shift again. So you can stay in the air indefinitely if you manage the fuel correctly. But here, I'm getting a little bit not great with the fuel. It's difficult to do this while you're also firing at the enemy. Because projectile rocket launcher is difficult to land the shots with because you need to think about your fuel. You see, look, I've not managed it correctly. So I'm going to the ground and, uh-oh, I'm on the ground. You don't ever really want to be on the ground as Pharah. Now, she's also got concussive blast. Now, this launches targets, as you can see, and does a little bit of damage to them. But it also launches you, and you can do some really cool stuff with Pharah. So if I want to quickly move over there, instead of jumping up and flying over, I can do this. See how I fired it into the ground in front of me, and it launches me forward. Also, if I was floating in the air like this and had it, I could fire it off there, and it'd knock me over there. I guess I'll just show you. It's about to come up. So I'm over here. I can be like that, knock myself over there, use my boost, keep doing damage from range. But the problem with Pharah is sort of the problem Echo's got, is that hit scan is really, really strong in this game. So it's kind of easy to just kill her when she's in the air, and she is a pretty big target. Now, her ultimate ability does this. Justice rains from above, indeed. It's rocket barrage. Oh, and also you damage yourself as well. Because you can do rocket jump, so you can go like that and then jump up in the air. You need healing, though. If you keep doing this, you will get killed. So your supports need to heal you. But yeah, the ultimate rocket barrage, you're very vulnerable when you do it. You just basically stay still and fire loads of rockets out. It does massive damage. Maybe even the most damage if it's fired at a continuous target for its whole duration of any ultimate. But it never lasts for its duration. You'll be killed. Because as soon as you go in the air like this, the enemy just slam you. All fire goes into you and you're dead. So you need your teammates to try and keep you alive. That's Pharah. All right, then. Next up is everyone's favorite edgelord. This is Reaper. Now, Reaper is a flank DPS because he can do this. He can teleport, which is really good. And you can get into position, and then suddenly Reaper's on the flanks. What the hell? He's in our backline killing us. Now, Reaper is a close-range shotgun hero. And the shotgun is hit scan, so it immediately hits the targets you fire at. But at close range, look at the damage he does. It is massive. Now, at the moment, Reaper is mega strong in Overwatch 2. Like, he might be the hero to play if you just want wins, right? He's really good. Genji's probably the best if you're good at him, but this hero, wow, does a ton of damage. I mean, look at this. He's so simple, just does mega damage at close range. Now, the other point to notice with this hero is if you look at his reaping ability, right? So damage heals you. So when you've taken damage, I guess we'll go over here and show you. I'll take a bit of damage off these bots. Oh no, damage. And then I do damage to them. Look, I get health back. Reaper is like the tank buster. If he gets into a fight against high health targets, it's very hard to kill him. But he has another trick up his sleeve because he's got Wraith form, which allows him to move a bit quicker, and also he takes no damage when he's in this form. So he can use this to close down on enemies. He can use it to dodge enemy abilities. Very, very strong. And then, of course, his teleport ability, this is targetable. So when you activate it, you can target an area of where you'd like to go. So I would like to go on top of here. And then I would like to use my ultimate, which is Death Blossom, which does massive AoE damage. That's basically Reaper. He is very simple, very strong, and you're going to see him a lot in Overwatch 2. Because he's really, really good. Oh, good lord. All right, then. Sojourn is one of the new DPS heroes in Overwatch 2. So she's a hybrid projectile hit scan hero. So her primary fire is a projectile. It's a pretty fast-moving projectile. Doesn't do tons of damage, but you'll notice in the middle of the screen, by doing damage with this, it charges up my railgun, which is the alternate fire. So the railgun, now it's 100% charge. If you use that, does massive damage and will delete targets from the game. So the gameplay loop is you're basically doing damage, looking for a full charge, looking for a kill. And basically, you're looking for the kill on the back line. You're trying to kill an enemy DPS or an enemy support, like boom. Trying to damage the tanks to get easy charge, boom. That's kind of what you're looking to do with this hero. Now, if you compare this to Ashe, you can see how this is a better hero than Ashe, right? Because it can just pump out damage like crazy. At the moment, anyway, hero balance can change. But yeah, this spamming. You can also do stuff like this. Just do quick damage and railgun. She's so powerful. She's got Disruptor Shot, which this does damage, AoE damage, and slows targets. Not by much, but it does slow targets. Basically, this is to make landing a railgun headshot easier. Her shift ability is a movement ability. She'll slide across the floor and then jump into the air at the end of it. Or you can jump at any point while you use it to just jump into the air. So I can access that high ground by just going like that and jumping up onto the high ground. Now, her ultimate ability is, again, really simple. This just makes the railgun charge. So look at the railgun rapidly charging. Now, you need to land the shots with this. This is the other thing. If you're missing all these shots, then it doesn't matter you've got loads of charge because you're just missing all the shots. But yeah, I think Sojourn, really strong hero. Probably up there in top 5 DPS easily. Probably, you might be the 3rd best DPS, maybe. But definitely top 5, I'd say. Really, really strong. Okay, Soldier 76. This is as basic as they come, and it's probably no surprise that this is one of my favorite DPS heroes in the game. So Soldier basically just has got an assault rifle. That's it. You've got a hit scan assault rifle. He can move really fast with sprint, which is super good for getting into position. Yeah, his primary fire does quite a bit of damage. His alternate fire fires a little mini rocket out, which you can use to rocket jump yourself, although it is a little bit difficult to do, but you can get used to it so you can access high ground like this. You jump onto high ground, boom, boom, boom. Soldier is just very, very basic, but he's very good at the moment He's probably, well, I don't want to keep saying they're top 5 heroes. I'm just saying everyone's a top 5 hero, but he's a very reliable source of damage. Now, the other thing with Soldier is he can heal himself. So notice I've taken a bit of damage. He can put down this healing field on the ground. It heals him or any of his allies, which is really good because Soldier can operate on the flank. So as you're running around and like you're on a flank position, you know, you're doing damage to these guys, maybe you're nowhere near your support, so they can't heal you. So, well, it doesn't matter because you can just drop down a heal station yourself, and then you can carry on doing whatever you need to do. Now, his ultimate is mega strong in 5v5 and in new Overwatch 2 because players are not really all together and there isn't loads of barriers in your face. So you basically get aimbot. So you just do this and fire. You just lock onto all the targets. This is really strong. Like, it is really strong. Of course, it can be stopped. D.Va could defense matrix you. You could have a Reinhardt barrier in your face, a Sigma barrier, you know, but generally this will get a lot of value. So he's a very simple hero, but he's very strong. And your rocket, I think, does 125 damage. That's pretty much it to Soldier. Very reliable. Probably the best hero to play if you're looking to get into DPS to begin with. Of course, long-range damage isn't massive with this guy because you wouldn't expect that. But you're never going to engage at that range. He's just medium range, consistent damage output. There are some questions around his effective damage in terms of securing eliminations because a lot of the time players might escape, whereas if I was an Ashe then, or even a Cassidy, I would have killed that in the time it took me to do that much damage. So shooting it like that, it'd have been dead if it was a Cassidy. But if I'm shooting it in the head, the damage is still good enough to kill the targets fast enough anyway. So yeah, Soldier, really reliable. Okay, Sombra. I am chronically bad at this hero. I never play Sombra. It's because she's so difficult. Sombra relies on team coordination. And if you've got that, Sombra is really strong. So Sombra can go invisible. Now, the enemy team can't see you unless you get really close to them, but you can run around. You can see I can see this target here through the wall. It's because it's got low health. So you can see low health targets through the wall. Now, you can hack, right? And when you hack, you get detected, but it doesn't break your stealth. It used to in Overwatch 1. It doesn't in Overwatch 2 now. And all this does is, I believe, this makes them... Well, I'll read it off. They basically... You hold to hack. Hacked enemies cannot use abilities briefly, but it's literally an interrupt. It's like a very brief interruption. It's not like you're locked out for a few seconds. It's just a brief interruption. You can see the hacked enemies through the wall. You can also do more damage to them, I believe, when they're hacked. So you detect critically injured enemies when you walk through walls, 40% more damage to hacked enemies. So if you hack a target like this and then shoot it, you do a lot more damage to it. This means Sombra is very much a flanker as well because you want to isolate targets, because if you catch them on their own, if you're in invis and we want to kill this guy or this guy when he comes out, you know, we're lurking around. He doesn't know we're here. He doesn't know. We hack him, and then we come out of stealth and just drill him and kill him really fast. Then you've got to get out of there. Now, this is the other component to her kit. It's the translocator. So that's a crap translocator position, but whatever. Imagine my translocators here. This would be a typical gameplay loop. So you'd be running around like this, hack this target. We're going to try and kill it. Maybe we kill it, maybe we don't. Let's say we do here, but oh no, the enemy team here. Doesn't matter because we can translocate away. She's very strong in the right hands, but I am no good with this hero, and I'll absolutely admit that I'm terrible. I'll forget to use my translocator. I'll go into a fight, try and translocate out, and I haven't even put it down. The other thing with a translocator is it can be destroyed by enemy fire. Not by yours, but enemy fire can destroy this. And if the enemy find this, they know you're going to come through it, so they can camp it and just wait and be like, oh yeah, I'm waiting for Sombra. As soon as she comes through, they'll kill you. So you got to be careful of that. Now, her ultimate ability used to hack targets. Well, I think it still does now. Yeah, it hacks them. So what I mean by used to hack targets, I mean it would apply the hack to them so they couldn't use their abilities and all that. Now it doesn't. It just applies this new version of the hack, like a brief interrupt, and then you can see them through the wall and they take more damage off you, 40% more damage. But it also just damages them. So if I throw my okay, my translocator was on the ground. If I throw my translocator in the air like this, translocate to it, and use my ultimate, see all these targets are all hacked, but they've taken damage. Look, because I believe it's 50% damage, isn't it? 40% damage. No, sorry. Yeah, 40% damage. Or 40% of all nearby's enemy health. Damage equals 40% of all nearby enemy health. You get what I'm saying? I'm getting confused. Sombra confuses me, ladies and gentlemen, right? But she's very hard to play. So this is a hero that you do need a ton of practice on because you're really looking for all the little opportunities. In fact, I highly recommend a content creator called Fitzy if you want to learn Sombra, because, I mean, I am tragically bad with this hero. So Symmetra is a builder hero, and she's kind of a bit weird. So Symmetra was very strong on 2CP in Overwatch 1. However, 2CP doesn't exist anymore. So, yeah. So what you can do is deploy 3 turrets that will constantly damage the enemy as they come near them. I think they also slow as well, the turrets do. Yeah, a small turret that damages and slows enemies, which, you know, they've got hardly any HP, so the enemies, actual players would shoot at these and kill them. Your primary fire is a beam. Now, what makes this unique is it is a massive high damage beam when it is charged. And you'll notice here that it's getting bigger as I use it. So the more damage you do with this, the more charge it gets. And look how much damage she's doing. It's like, oh my god, this is obscene. Now, this is a hero that can be very strong, as I said, in certain situations, but she's very difficult to make, to constantly get value out. If you compare it to Soldier, who kind of is like the baseline for DPS, Soldier would be shooting all these and just carrying on, whereas Symmetra depends on getting close range. I mean, look, the beam is really close range as well, and it's difficult. Now, our alternate fire is a projectile, and this moves pretty fast. This is kind of like a Pharah rocket. It's not as powerful, but it's similar to a Pharah rocket in the way it functions. Only you have to charge it up, whereas Pharah immediately fires the rocket. Now, her other ability is the teleporter. So you can teleport through this. Your whole team can use this. And you can actually teleport your turrets through this as well. So if I put all my turrets on the floor and then dropped a teleporter, in fact, I'll just show you. So if I put all this down on the floor, like that, and then I go like that, my teleporter will teleport my turrets from there over there. So you can use this to throw your turrets into the back line of the enemy, and sometimes it can be cheeky and get kills. Her ultimate is this massive map-wide barrier. This is the strongest barrier in the game, and it's actually really good, this is, because it will catch the enemy team off guard. And, yeah, well, it's just a massive barrier, so there's not much more to say about that. You can destroy it, but it takes so much damage, you generally never, ever destroy it before it disappears. That's Symmetra. She is probably one of the weakest DPS heroes, but in certain scenarios, she can be really strong. So it's a difficult one. I guess she's like a specialist DPS hero.
I sense an absence of determination.
Okay, keeping it with the builder-style heroes, Torbjourn, he can do this. He can build a turret. This turret will lock onto enemies and just shoot them. Doesn't do loads of damage, but this is... surprisingly, it is annoying. In good positions, this can do quite annoying damage to the enemy team. But I'm just going to drop this over here. Let me just destroy it, actually. Yeah. We'll get rid of it because it will just keep firing and it'll do our heads in. It won't disappear on its own unless it gets destroyed by the enemy. Now, Torb is very good at the moment because Torb is like Reaper in a lot of ways. So his primary fire is a long range, basically a bolt that he fires out of a bolt gun. Now, it's a projectile. You can see it arcing in from distance. So it is difficult to land. But again, it's just about spam with this. You're just spamming it, spamming it, spamming it, spamming it, spamming it at distance. Nice and safe. You might hit targets. You might dink headshots. You know, it's fine. Close range, though, your alternate fire is a shotgun. This is very similar to Reaper, right? Now, it's not as good as Reaper at the moment, but if you use your Molten Core, I believe they still call this Molten Core, don't they? Yeah. No, sorry, Overload. You do this, and you fire much faster. Now, this is high burst damage. Torb is quite hard to hit because he's quite small. If he's rushing into tanks and spamming them with that, he is deleting them from the game. He's very, very strong, Torb. So I think Torb actually... is pretty good at the moment. Of course, like I said throughout this video, things can change in the game because, you know, balance and whatnot. So his ultimate ability is this bad boy. So it's Molten Core. You get a certain amount of this you can drop on the floor. A time to use it as well before it disappears. This damages, it doesn't damage you, but it damages anything that walks through it. This, again, is a good thing to use on Zarya's Graviton Surge. So if all the enemy were together there and you used your Molten Core, well, then they'd be standing in it and take loads of damage. You can also fire it quite far distance. So if I had it again, I could fire it over there and like paint an area with it effectively. But that's Torb. He's quite durable, Torb. Look, he's got 250 combined armor and health. And the armor's the key thing because it really reduces incoming damage. So he's quite tanky, Torb. He's definitely not one to be messed with. Okay, it's Tracer time. Now, Tracer is a flanker. She's dive DPS. She's massively fast. She wants to get into the face of the enemy. She wants to get all over the place. She's just rapid. Absolutely rapid. But you don't go head on into the enemy team with Tracer. You're always looking for places to go around the side of the map. You're looking to flank. You're looking to dive on top of targets. You're looking to hit them and get out, basically, because the damage you do is massive. But it is all point-blank damage. You need to be really close to the targets. Because if I go over here and try and hit one of these targets like that, look, I'm doing literally no damage to it. As it comes a little bit closer, it's not too bad. But that's crap damage, like, compared to this, which is literally deleting them from the game. but she's a difficult hero to play. She's only got 150 health. Now, her other component is if you jump in and overextend, you can press the recall ability. I think it's called rewind, actually, isn't it? Recall. I've always called that rewind. It's called recall. Literally 6 years of the game. You think I would have got the ability names right, but whatever. You can recall yourself back to where you were, and you basically regenerate your health back to the point it was at before you got hit. So, travel back in time to your previous location and health. That's a better way of putting it instead of me trying to ad-lib it. So yeah, you can just jump in, do stuff. In fact, like, imagine if I've jumped off the map. Oh, no. Doesn't matter, because I can just rewind. It's one of the best abilities in any FPS game. It's so cool. Now, her ultimate is a pulse bomb. You have to stick this on the target when they're next to him, but you don't want to stand near it because it will kill you. It does quite good damage, and it is a fast-charging ultimate. Like, look at that. I've got 20% ult charge, 34% just off killing 2 bots, 51%. But it's not an ultimate that's going to, like, blow everybody up, unless they're all together in a Graviton Surge, in which case it can be effective. But yeah, you charge the ultimate, you basically do stuff like this. So you jump in on a target like that, rewind out and get away. Although I nearly died to it then. But yeah, if you jumped all the way down there, attach the bomb, and then rewound, you'd get the hell out of there. Or recall. What the... Recall, not rewind. Recall. Use recall, right? It is rewind, though, isn't it? Whatever. You get out of there. But remember, she's very fragile, this hero. So you can often get caught in a bad position with all your cooldowns gone, and you're like, uh-oh, I guess I'll die. But yeah, she does take a lot of... Well, she takes a lot of practice tracer, but she can be very effective. Again, she's one of the stronger DPS in the game at the moment, just because Overwatch 2 is so, well, flanker and high mobility centric. This is Widowmaker. She is the sniper hero in Overwatch. Massive damage at long range, hit scan weapon. When it's fully charged, does tons of damage. You can just wipe people out if you land headshots on them. Obviously, you can't kill tanks with this with one shot, but you're going to kill all the supports pretty much. All of the DPS with a headshot. She can turn a fight instantly. You can just literally land the shots, boom, boom. You can just win a fight. But you have to land the shots. And generally, Widowmaker players are like going like this. They're missing all the shots because players don't move like bots, right? So you're missing all the shots like, ah! Now, the way a sniper rifle works is it charges up. So if you fire it straight away, it's low damage. But if you charge it up, the longer you've got the scope open to 100% power, then you do maximum damage with it. That's basically how it works. Super simple. She's also got a spider mine, or widow mine, I think it's called. Venom mine. Again, I'm getting all the abilities wrong. But this will blow up when enemies go near it. It causes damage to them, but also you can see them through the wall when they're affected by this. But it doesn't last very long. But it's good. But what you would do is if you set up in a sniper position, you sort of put this on the wall there, and then maybe I'm here sniping. If it blows up, I know someone's coming to get me, then I can try and get away. Her other ability is grapple. Now, this allows you to grapple off surfaces, and I'm going to try and do the tracer trick shot. See if I can do it. No, I missed the tracer. But you can grapple to positions. Now, it's got a pretty long cooldown, and it's Widowmaker's only movement ability. So if she's set up and she's trying to do damage to the enemy team, and the enemy team realize where she is, and like one of their dive tanks tries to get you, you can be like, oh god, I need to rapidly reposition, so I'm going to go over here, like, and then I can start shooting whoever was trying to attack me. That's how Widow works, but Widow is completely aim reliant. If you don't have the aim, then you just can't play Widow. Now, her ultimate, this gives wall hack to your entire team. So you can see all enemy players through the wall. This is really good because when you use this as Widow, it stops the enemy team from attacking because you can see where they are. So you can use this to buy time or use it to line up shots. It's pretty decent. Although one thing I will say about Widow, I massively preferred her Overwatch 1 weapon. It looks way better than this, but whatever. This looks like a planet-side weapon, if anyone ever played that game. I think, were they the Vanu, were they called? I don't know, the purple team. Anyway, she looks like one of those. Okay, let's move on to the supports. Now, Ana is my favourite support, although Kiriko may replace her because Kiriko's just broken. But this is Ana. Now, Ana has got two different ways of healing with a with a weapon, not a primary fire, but she does heal with that. So this is primary fire. Now, primary fire is a projectile long-range heal. So you fire at your team and you heal them. However, what is interesting with her is secondary fire is a hit scan long-range heal. So if you're really far away from the team and you need to heal them, so if I fire like that, it's going to take time to travel, but the hit scan instantly goes there. So this means you can rapidly heal at range. Very, very strong. Now, the other component to a primary fire is it damages the enemy. So it damages the enemy, heals ally. So we've shot that bot, heals our ally. Works totally the same in hit scan. You're basically a hit scan sniper, nowhere near as powerful as Widowmaker, because obviously you're a healer, right? But this works really well when you're not doing anything or you don't need to heal your team. You can suddenly mix in a bit of damage, right? Really, really good. She can also sleep targets. This is mega powerful. This is so powerful. If you sleep someone like this, they're basically dead. Generally, if you're playing Ana, you sleep someone, you tell your team. You go, guys, I've slept so-and-so. Now, obviously, in Overwatch 2, you can ping. So if you sleep them, you basically go, enemy slept here. Your team know. You don't even have to tell them over the microphone. It's so powerful. It is a ridiculous ability. Now, her other ability, which is just incredible, is the grenade. So the grenade heals you when it explodes, but look, it's applied anti-heal to that target. So if you throw this at the enemy team and it explodes on them, they can't be healed. And even though it's only a couple of seconds, it's more than enough for your team to do damage. Like, look, it damages, they can't heal. They just can't get healing off their healers. It is so powerful. But also, it increases healing output. So if we let these bots die, I'll show you Ana's burst healing. Or we let them get really, really low. So the bots are going to get low. And then we're going to throw the grenade here. It will detonate. And then we're going to start pumping healing into them. Look how fast we heal them. Basically back to full after one shot. It's because they had the bonus healing effect on them from Ana's grenade. It is a super powerful ability. Now, this is her ultimate. This is Nano Boost. This basically, the easiest way to look at this is it just makes you more resistant to damage, makes you do more damage, makes you like, it just makes you better, right? It's like being absolutely souped up. It's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. Like, you give this to a DPS hero and they just will wipe out the enemy team if they've got good aim and they can, you know, actually shoot the enemy. Genji's really strong for getting hit with this. If he's got Dragon Blade, you'll see Nano Blade is referred to a lot. And the Genjis will be asking for Nano. So if you're playing Ana and you've got Nano, one simple thing to do is just wait until your Genji's got Dragon Blade. And if you see him use it, Nano him. Or if he wants it, he'll ask you for it. Better Genjis will ask you for it. That's pretty much Ana. She's really, really good. I really like Ana. And I kind of want to main her in Overwatch 2, but also, I don't know. I do like Kiriko. Anyway, that's Ana. Really, really, really strong hero. The only downside to Ana, actually, is her movement. She can't really escape stuff. So if somebody's trying to kill her, like a Tracer, which they generally would be, all you can do is grenade the floor in front of you to try and heal yourself while trying to shoot her and desperately trying to sleep her. If you sleep her, then you can try and go for a bit of damage on her and whatnot and try and kill her. But yeah, it's difficult. Very high skill support. This is Baptiste. He is the quintessential, I love saying that in this video, but he is the quintessential battlefield medic. I think Baptiste is one of the strongest supporters in the game at the moment. So what you're seeing me use here is his passive ability. You use this to charge up a super jump. You basically crouch, his rocket boots charge up, and then you can use it to access high ground. Really, really strong. So if you think about Ana has no movement ability. This guy can jump all over the place. It's really, really strong. Now, his primary fire is a 3-shot burst SMG. Now, if you fire once, obviously you'll fire 3 shots. If you hold down the trigger, you will just keep firing until you run out of bullets in the magazine. Now, his alternate fire is a healing grenade. This is his main healing output. So this will explode whenever it hits the surface, and it won't heal you, but it will heal allies. So if you take damage, let me just show you this. If I take a bit of damage, if I fire this into the floor, it will not heal me. This is because it would be, frankly, disgustingly OP. However, Baptiste can heal himself. So these guys have taken a bit of damage. I use Regenerative Field. It instantly heals for 50, I believe, and then it applies a heal over time. But see, it's healed me. So I'm healed, and then you also get the heal over time effect on all the allies. So it's really, really strong at AoE healing. So maybe we can just pop it off just before these bots die. In fact, we'll show another ability before we do that. This is Immortality Field. It means that these targets won't die. So basically, these targets, when you use it, there is a little blue sort of bar, and that's as low as the health can be reduced to. And it won't go any lower. It prevents death. Now, Lamp, as we like to refer to this as, because it is code name basically during development, is just really, really strong. So if you drop this here like that, the enemy can shoot it and destroy it, but that means they're not shooting your team. So your team aren't taking damage. So it's still really doing its job. It doesn't have a lot of health and it can be killed quite easily. But the main thing about this is it stops high damage abilities. So if there's an enemy using a high damage ultimate, maybe a Dragon Blade or something, or even just, I don't know, the enemy are getting really aggressive and they're pushing through our team, or they're going to use, I don't know, maybe some Tracer applies a Pulse Bomb to this friendly bot. You can just throw this down. The Pulse Bomb will blow up and it won't kill the bot. It's really, really strong. Now, his ultimate We like to call this window because it creates a big window. This multiplies everything that goes through it. So increases healing. Look at that. Increases damage to the point of Baptiste being incredible DPS. I mean, like, look at that damage. Compared to not having it, it takes longer to kill these bots. So this is without the damage and obviously headshots. You're basically killing them with 3 shots instead of 6, which is just incredible. Now, Baptiste players tend to drop this down when they're on their own and just use it to shoot the enemy, because it is a sting in the tail the enemy don't expect. You also, as well, when you're playing Baptiste, you're always generally charging up your jump just to keep yourself mobile and harder to hit. I think he's honestly one of the better heroes in 5v5, just because he can look after himself and he can get away from bad positions with his crazy jump, which is super powerful. But yeah, that's Baptiste. Probably one of my favorite supports alongside Ana. So this is Brig. And one thing I haven't really done in this video is focused on the sort of classifications of the heroes. You could say Ana and Baptiste are like main healers because they output a lot of healing, although those terms in Overwatch get really confusing. And there's also the term of flex support, main support and flex support. And again, they can mean different things. So I'm just going to explain what the heroes do, really. And you guys can make your own decision based on that as to the playstyle. Because remember, this is a basic introductory guide. You should be able to see what heroes here you want to pick up and play based off the way they play and if their abilities are sort of speaking to you. So Brig is a melee support hero that's like a mini tank. So she's got a little barrier, 250 health, which is pretty good. She's got 200 health herself with a bit of armor, which is really, really good. So think about it. You're having to go through like a ton of health and armor and shields to even get to Brig. But the thing with Brig is if I take a little bit of damage here, so if these bots kindly shoot me, if I do any damage of any sort, whether it's shield bash, whether it's whip shot, whether it's primary fire, it triggers an ability called Inspire, which is Brig's AoE healing. In fact, I've healed myself here because the support passive, all supports have got that. They heal themselves when they're out of combat for a while. So let me just show you this healing in effect. So this isn't the out of combat healing. This is Brig's Inspire healing. Can you see it? It's healing me and it's healing these bots. It is a ton of healing and it triggers on all damage types. It is really, really strong. So with Brig, you always want to be hitting the enemy in some way, whether you're bashing them with whip shot, not to kill them, just to get the heal. Because look at this heal. It's so powerful. Our other heal is a long range heal that's got a travel time. So, and she's only got 3 of these. You can throw them out. I think this is repair pack. Repair pack. What armor pack I want to call this, but that was Torb's ability from years ago. Repair pack though, look, it's a heal over time. It's not an instant heal, but it's a heal over time. This is especially great if you've got like a Widowmaker over there. You can just throw it at it because there's no targeting required. You just look at them and fire it and it will make its way to them. But like I said, the main thing with Brig is you want to be getting Inspire up all the time because it's where most of your healing comes from. Now the shield, when you've got the shield deployed, obviously it acts as a shield, but you can bash into targets with it and it does 100 damage. It's really, really strong. So if I bash that target, 50 damage actually, not 100 damage. Is that 50 damage? Yeah, it's not. Maybe it did 100 damage before and then they changed it. I don't know. But it basically does damage. So what you can do with Brig is you can bash into people and smash them with whip shot, smash them with primary fire, and it gets a bit rowdy. Okay, so let's talk about Brig's ultimate. This is Rally. What this does is applies over health to the targets. Now look at the amount of health it's giving them extra. This is really, really strong. Obviously, I can heal them as well. This is in the area of effect around Brig. You can see it glowing on the ground there. But this, when you pop it, basically means your team can tank a ton of extra damage. It's really, really strong. Like, Brig is a very, very strong hero. Like, I would not sleep on Brig. She's very, very strong. And I think Blizzard have got her in a very good place because no longer does she rely on her bash. Because the bash, this, although it moves you forward, in the past, in Overwatch 1, this would stun targets. Now it doesn't. So if you get near Brig, she can bash you, but you can still get away from it. It doesn't stun them. But yeah, she's very, very strong. And the good thing about Brig is in this 5v5 world, she's actually quite survivable on her own. And she can look after her fellow support as well. So always be aware of that. Okay, this is Kiriko. Kiriko is the brand new Overwatch 2 launch hero. She's a support and she can wall climb just like Genji and just like Hanzo. It's because her mother trained them all to wall climb, basically. Now, her alternate fire is the kunai. This does massive damage and if it lands on a headshot, right? So it does triple damage headshot, but on a body shot, it only does 40 damage. So it's not that great. So body shot, not great, but a headshot, 120. Body shot, not great. Headshot, 120. So 2 headshots into these bots and we can kill them. She is a very strong for long-range damage. And much like Hanzo, you can spam this just down the chokes, spam it into a fight that's happening. You might land headshots, you might kill people. Also, if somebody tries to dive you, well, you've got a way of dealing with them. But if somebody does try to dive Kiriko, so if this poor bot here is trying to kill me and I need to escape, I can turn around like this, look at my ally, and teleport directly to them. Yeah, you can't be dove or dived upon with Kiriko if you've got your teleport available. This makes us so survivable, it's unbelievable. And remember, you can wall climb. So if I wall climb up here, I can get to the high ground. And then, oh look, I can teleport to the low ground. I can heal. So her primary fire is the healing Fuda, I believe this is called. And this basically fires a series of projectiles that will target allies. So high health allies, it will just go through them. Low health allies, though, it will target them and heal them. Now, if you fire this just into nowhere like this, you'll notice that it's a different color. It's like a turquoise color. This means they're not going to lock onto anyone. They're not going to heal. But if you fire them at targets, you just need to be in the general direction. It will land on them. It's very, very easy to aim. And actually, this is really strong for healing like a Pharah. If Pharah's in the air, you can just sort of throw it at her and it gets to her. Now, there is a downside to this. It's got a very slow travel time. You know, if I was Anna and I'm healing from here, you're immediately healing these targets. But with Kiriko, you're not. You just sort of... And it's also difficult sometimes to separate where you want the healing to go. But yeah, healing is very good because what you do is you basically teleport to targets and you heal them. Now, her other ability is Protection Suzu. This burst heals targets when it hits them and makes them immune to all damage and cleanses them. So if they've got any negative effects on them, like a Zen Discord Orb, it just removes it. It is so powerful. Now, her other ability, her ultimate, I should say, is Kitsune Rush. This generates a massive field that increases movement speed for everybody in it, attack speed for everybody in it, ability cooldown for everybody in it, so you can use your abilities much quicker. It is mega powerful, a really strong engagement ultimate, but Kiriko herself is very survivable just because of all these movement tricks you can pull. So strong, an incredible hero. Mental stuff. All right, that's Kiriko. Like I said, she's going to be high skill cap. She's also locked in the battle pass as well, so if you want to play her, you do need to pay to get the battle pass to get access to her unless you want to grind. But yeah, she is really, really strong. Okay, this is Lucio. Now, Lucio can wall ride. Lucio is a very survivable support on his own, and he offers aura buffs to his team. So, I've got the speed buff on here, so this means everyone will move faster with me, and this is what makes Lucio unique. He can constantly give speed buffs to his team. I know Junker Queen can do this as well, and Orisa can speed buff herself, but yeah, this is a buff that will apply to the whole team. Now, you can also change the song to a healing song, and it will heal allies. It's not a fast heal, it's just a constant heal over time. Think of it like Briggs Inspire. It's kind of like that, but just constantly on, all the time. But you don't have speed. Sometimes you might need speed because you might need to get out of a position. Now, obviously, you can wall ride with Lucio. This makes him very mobile. Again, he's one of those heroes you need a lot of practice with, and I'm terrible at wall riding. But Lucio is super survivable because he can just wall ride everywhere. Now, his primary fire is a projectile, 3-shot projectile that does okay damage, moves quite slow, and you're generally just firing this, you know, sort of into the enemy team, hoping to hit someone. If, you know, someone starts harassing you, you just give them a bit of this, a bit of that. It's not like something you're going to do tons and tons of damage with, because he's a support, remember. His alternate fire is special because it boops people. So you can boop people out of the way. Now, again, that was a bit laggy. This is because I'm on the test server, and I think it's probably an LA-based server that I'm connected to, so... You know, I'm in the UK, the pings will be terrible. But yeah, it's a boop. You can push people away. So if someone gets near to you, you can be like, no, boop them away. Or you can rush to the defense of your allies and boot people away from them, which is really, really good. Now, the other thing you can do with Lucio is amp it up. So while my healing isn't very good here, if I amp it up, it increases the effect of your aura. So it makes the healing faster. But if I had speed on, it would make speed faster. Right? You get what I'm saying? Really, really good. So if I do it with speed, so I'll move quicker because I've got speed. And the little UI in the middle of the screen denotes how many of your allies are actually benefiting from your buff. So like 3, I've got my 3 ally bots here. They're all in range of my heal. You can see it on the floor just about there. It's a little bit hard to see. You can see it around there as well. But that's your aura. Everyone inside that aura will get your song. Now, his ultimate. This is Sound Barrier. And you jump up into the air, slam into the ground, and give a massive shield that decays to all of your allies in the area. This is a really good ultimate because you can protect your team from being killed from other enemy ultimates. You can just cancel out, like if Genji pops Dragon Blade, you can just do this and probably your team will survive. If it's a Nano Blade, it's going to be a bit more problematic because Genji will be doing more damage. Or even if it's a Dragon Strike from Hanzo, you can drop the beat, as we call it, and you probably will survive, or it'll give your team more chance to get out of its damage. But yeah, very, very strong. But Lucio himself, even though he's only got 200 health, you've got to remember, he heals himself when his heal song's on. So as he's moving about, look, he's all healed. Like, I literally could just stand here, and I don't think this bot could ever kill me. I'll always out-heal its damage. Will I? Yeah, I'll always out-heal his damage. So yeah, Lucio, really, really good. But you need to wall ride with Lucio. You don't run around on the floor like this. No, you need to be on the walls, making yourself a nuisance, of which I'm not that good at. So yeah. So this is Mercy. And Mercy can, well, I was going to say Mercy can res targets, but they've respawned. But Mercy was the Overwatch hero that attracted players to an FPS game that maybe didn't play an FPS game before. Reinhardt as well, it was one of those heroes. Because Mercy doesn't rely on aim. All you do with Mercy is look at the targets you want to heal, attach your healing beam, and you don't even need to be looking at them, provided you've got it attached to them. And you can see in the middle of the screen, you can see their health. This means you can move around, get yourself into a nice safe position. Obviously, if you break line of sight, it will disappear, but you get a few seconds of grace. So this bot, for example, we could heal him, go back out here, you know, we're still healing him. This makes Mercy very survivable. Also, Mercy can damage boost. Now, these guys are not doing damage, but this bot is over here. So if I damage boost this bot, he will do more damage to that enemy target. This is very, very strong. Like, you'll see Pharah being used with Mercy because Mercy can fly around with Pharah and damage boost her. You'll see Mercy following Soldier 76 around because she can damage boost him and also heal him if he needs it. But the other thing with Mercy is if she's caught out of position, is she can fly to another target, provided it's an ally. Now, this is a bit different because you can fly and you can jump and you can do all kinds of stuff now with the new Guardian Angel, which is in Overwatch 2. But what I just want to show you res when this bot dies. You can also res targets. It's on a 30-second cooldown, but it fully reses, full health, really powerful. So yeah, I just want to kind of show you this. So I'm sort of jumping around with Guardian Angel. Like, in fact, I'm totally what am I doing with this? I'm totally failing this. While in flight, yeah, crouch launches you up here. That's it. This has constantly been changed over and over again in the beta and whatnot. I always forget which version we're dealing with. So if we go like this and then we crouch, you just jump straight up in the air as a Mercy super jump. When you're in the air, if you keep holding down crouch or if you're holding down jump, you will float in the air. Now, her ultimate is, and obviously with Guardian Angel, you can use it to like get into all kinds of positions, and like you basically with Mercy, you're trying to hide yourself from the enemy while healing. Like, you'd be in this kind of position here. You don't want the enemy to see you. You want to heal your team. Maybe you want to get close to them. You want to be protecting them. You want to be damage boosting them. You never really want to be getting hit as Mercy. Now, Mercy's ultimate is called Valkyrie, and this means you can just straight up fly. You can just fly, but your healing becomes area of effect. Your damage boost becomes area of effect, or like chain damage boost, I guess. But also, Mercy's got a secondary weapon. And when you're in Guardian Angel, it fires without the need to reload. And it does a lot of damage, this does. It's a very slow-moving projectile, but it's a bit of a sting in the tail that Mercy's got. If she's getting pushed, she can whip out this. But generally, if Mercy is getting pushed by enemy DPS or flankers, you just want to use Guardian Angel to get away. You don't really want to engage them. But when you pop Valkyrie, you know, you can go battle Mercy and fly in and try and kill people. Although, I would advise healing your team rather than just going for damage as Mercy. But yeah, Mercy doesn't rely aim. Mercy's more about situational awareness and more that overview of what's going on in the game. She's a really strong hero. And yeah, she's like, again, one of those like Overwatch heroes I think most people are aware of. And I think a lot of people will play Mercy, but she's fine. She's perfectly fine. And of course, she outputs a lot of healing as well. So this is Moira. Now, Moira has got AoE healing that's close range. So her primary fire applies a heal over time to targets when it hits them. But you'll notice I've got a bar in the middle of the screen because I've got a certain amount of healing juice. So if I go like this and spray it everywhere, I'm going to run out of healing juice pretty soon, and then I won't be able to heal these targets. And that's actually, well, a pretty of a, you know, it's a major detriment. So I have to wait, and then I get a little bit back. You have to wait. It's not good. However, if you damage the enemy with your alternate fire, this heals you, by the way, if you've taken damage. It's a life drain. But look how it regenerated my healing. So Moira is sort of like you're doing damage and then you're trying to... Well, you're doing healing, I should say. And then if the opportunity arises, you get a bit of damage in, and then that recharges your healing. But your healing is very close range. Like, you have to be on top of these bots. You know, I'm not healing... Well, I'm healing that one, but I'm not healing the other one. Or I am, just a bit. Okay.
Need a moment to recharge.
Yeah, it's basically whatever range this is. That's probably 10 meters or maybe 15 meters maximum. Yeah, probably 10 meters, I guess. If that's 10 meters there, 10 meters there. But you basically need to be in your team with Moira. You don't want to be away from your team. However, you can throw an orb. So if you activate the orb, you've got a healing orb which you can throw, which will slow down when it gets near targets that need healing and heals all targets around it until it dissipates. Or, in fact, I'll throw it again just so you can see it. So you see it slows down like that. It should dissipate. No, it just about made it through. But it only does a certain amount of healing, then it will dissipate. So you can't throw this into a team and it'll heal them all to full, but it'll do a bunch of healing. The idea is you throw this in while you're also healing, and that's Moira's burst. It's a lot of healing. The orb has a secondary mode. It can do damage. So if I go down here and I use alternate fire this time and throw the orb in there, watch what it will do. They bounce off surfaces as well. But when they get near an enemy, they will slow down and start doing damage to that enemy. So you got slowed down, did a bit of damage, moved away. It's not a lot of damage, but this can be surprising when it's thrown at the enemy team. Like, look at it. It's bouncing around, doing damage. It is quite annoying. But most of the time, you want to prioritize the healing orb because it does so much healing. I mean, look, pretty much healed those bots to full. Now, Moira's other ability is Fade. This means you take no damage and you move fast. But you can also super jump with this as well. So if I want to get up onto this high ground, I can be like this, and then I can be like, oh, nearly got on top of that crate. But I could get onto that crate and I could get up there. If I was good enough, but I'm terrible. And it's too late, and this is me on the test server, and it's lagging. I've got every excuse in the book, ladies and gentlemen. But basically, yeah, whatever. You can super jump when you use Fade. This lets you get out of bad positions. So if you were here doing damage on the enemy team, of course, you can use your damage abilities altogether as well if you wanted to. You're like, whoa, I'm healing myself. And by the way, this is why she's really good against flankers, because if a Tracer or even a Reaper in some cases comes after you, or a Genji or whatever, you can damage them really easily because you don't need to aim this ability that much. You obviously need to aim at the target, but it does lock on to a certain degree when you're near the target. So it is more forgiving to do damage to a flanker that might be harassing you, and maybe they'll disengage. But yeah, like if I was in this position, oh no, I need to get out, I can just do this, and I can jump away, and I'm out straight away. Again, remember, heroes like Ana don't have this movement ability. Now, her ultimate is Coalescence. You fire a massive beam that damages enemies and heals allies. Now, it's not crazy damage, but this goes through barriers. It basically goes through everything. And it heals all targets. It is really strong. And Moira regenerates while she's using it, and Moira can move faster as well. So that's pretty much Moira. She is a nice hero, Moira. She's got one of the nicer golden weapons, I think, because they give her golden nails. But Moira is, yeah, she's very survivable, and I think in this 5v5 world, she's pretty decent. But she has to be near her team to heal, and that's the only problem with Moira. So always be aware of that. Like, sometimes Moira can be quite weak because you might be playing a map or in a team comp where your team just isn't together, and Moira will suffer. Okay, and last but not least, again, one of my favorite support heroes, this is Zen. Now, Zen sort of straddles the line between support and damage. I like to think of Zen as like an artillery platform. So this is Zen's heal. It's a single target heal over time. Not very... It doesn't do tons of healing, but if you put this on a DPS hero, it can make them really, really strong. But if you break line of sight, it will disappear and will come back to you. So we broke line of sight and it comes back to you, and then you need to reapply it. Now, you can reapply this at will. So I'm healing this bot, and then I can heal this bot. I can jump back over to that bot. There's a lot of like kind of healing you can do with this, but it's very, very slow. Like, Zen has got the lowest healing output of any of the supports. But he makes up with this in a different way, because Zen can do this. He can apply an orb to the enemy that makes them take increased damage. Look at that. I'm literally one shot in these bots with Discord Orb on. It is massive damage. Well, I would have been if I could aim. He didn't have it on him, but he does now. So with Zen, you're basically discording high-value enemy targets while constantly firing with primary fire, which does a ton of damage, by the way. But you also have got an alternate fire where you can charge up a shot. So we can fully charge up a shot, and we'll fire a load of orbs out very fast, very high damage. So Zen is... I mean, he's quite... I don't want to say he's one-dimensional. He's very simple to understand his kit, but it's very hard to get high effectiveness from this because, well, he is... Like, he's really easy to be killed, Zen. Like, he's quite a big target. I don't know if I can kind of show you this, but he's quite big, Zen, right? It's easy for enemy DPS to attack Zen. So you always have to be on the move. You always have to be, you know, hoping that your other support is looking after you as well. But you do a ton of damage, and you can win fights. Like, Zen can just destroy people. Like, you basically operate from the back line with Zen. That's why I call him an artillery platform. And you're just literally firing shots down range, just trying to take people out. If you get pushed around the corner, maybe charge with his ultimate fire, go for a massive volley of damage at range. It's crazy. Now, his ultimate, watch this. This rapidly heals everyone in it. Zen is immune to all damage, and it is extremely good for dealing with certain ultimates. Genji Dragon Blade, unless it's nanoed, finds it pretty much impossible to kill any targets through Transcendence. Also, if your team are caught in a Graviton Surge and you're Zen and you've got Transcendence, you pop Transcendence to keep everyone alive in the Graviton Surge. It's very, very strong. Of course, Anna could throw an anti-nade at you. Junker Queen could ult through you, in which case she'll hit targets and your heal won't affect them. So it is a bit weaker than it used to be, like way back in the early days of Overwatch, just because more characters have got anti-heal. But Zen is, I mean, in terms of like the power of the supports right now, he's probably one of the weaker ones, just because he does find it a little bit difficult to stay alive, whereas other supports can find that a bit easier. But if you've got the aim, and like, I don't know, Tracer over here is trying to... Like, if this Tracer tried to... Imagine Tracer here comes after me, and I hit her with Discord straight away, because it's very easy to land. Then I'm just firing randomly as she's moving around, but then I hit her. Look at that. I could just melee her and kill her. Oh, by the way, your melee as well is different with Zen, isn't it? He kicks people. I forgot about this. So, yeah, if Tracer got near me, you could boot her. I mean, in fact, I think I can just boot her straight off the map, so, yeah. But that's Zen. Okay, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. It has been a look at the Overwatch 2 heroes at launch. This video, like I said, was designed for new players to the game. I hope you guys really enjoyed this, and I might do a series of kind of like really basic introductory tips. I might do these as YouTube shorts, I'm not sure, because this will be a pretty long video because it's going over every hero. But this should give you a better idea of the way the heroes work, because it dawned on me, when you look at Overwatch, I mean, if I go here to this computer, look at all these heroes. Like, if you don't know what these heroes do, you're like, what in the world? There's so many heroes. What do they do? So I hope this video has helped. All right, guys, thank you for listening to the video. Remember, if you want more content like this, and if you're enjoying Overwatch 2, then do subscribe to the channel. It really helps a lot. Leave a like and a comment below. And yeah, I've been Stylosa, and I'll catch you lovely lot on the next one. See you soon.